But I wonder what it would look like considering that you do have three perimeter scorers who are good shooters who require some paying attention to, and I don't think I don't think Simmons is ever gonna see this many one on ones. Then he's never he's never gonna be as wide open as he's been um in Philly. Like
Hey, on a side topic, I've never seen this before, but the Nets can defer the Philly pick from
Yep.
this year to next year.
Yep.
that's
So
beautiful.
here's what we want to happen here. And you guys won't say this, but I will.
Yeah, I know. I know.
I want the Sixers to make the playoffs. And in the game 7 of the second round versus us, I want both Harden and Embiid's Achilles to shatter. And then we defer that pick to next year, and then we get the number 1 pick in the 2023 draft. That's what we want to
Do you
happen.
know how
Can I
do you
say
know
one
how
thing about,
close they are to that though? That's close to happening to them. They're one of them
If
dudes
it
get
happened
hurt, it's
tomorrow,
over.
we could have a lottery pick this year.
Can I just
Nah,
say though,
not
by the
enough
way,
games.
because our podcast has consistently been consistently, and we've actually started to get credit now on Twitter everywhere because people actually see us as being real and not just like annoying homers or stands or whatever word people are using. But like, shout out, like, message to Kyrie Irving. You probably caused all this, and now you really are going to have the ball in your hands and be more of a facilitator, even with Ben Simmons, and you're going to have to shoot more. And you better be fucking like stepping up to the challenge. You said that you wanted to bring a title to Brooklyn and your favorite team growing up more than anything. Well, you deserve about set anywhere from 68 to 85 to 90% of the blame for a lot of the shit that's going on right now.
Yep.
So you better step up because this has you now. There's no one else to. The only person that's left to blame, I guess, could kind of be Nash. But even that, like, this is on you now, dude. Like the franchise loves KD. Simmons is new to the party. Like, this is you.
He has to show up. Like, he can't help himself. He's gonna find another reason to not show up. He's gonna have another injury or something's gonna happen. But I wonder what it's gonna take to make Nets fans see that, like, this dude is just not gonna show up. I wonder when we got.
I'll tell you what it will take. The fan base with the Nets is unlike most New York fan bases. That most New York fans, like, people hated Eli Manning until he won, right? And then, like, they did the 2012 Giants coming off the 11 Super Bowl got booed at halftime in the first game. The Net fan base only hates you when you're gone. They usually hate like the 15th man on the bench, but they
Right.
love everybody else. And then when they're gone, they immediately like, well, screw him. That's what you see.
Yeah,
Has
it's
got
like-
on hard in the last few weeks.
I mean, I'm 100% fuck James Harden. Like, that's where I'm at with it. But I'm not gonna do this game where I gotta call the dude a coward. So, like, I don't see how that's any good, and or does me any good.
No,
but
he's just an asshole.
he's just an asshole. Like, he has bad taste in teams. Like, why should I be mad at him? Look, he doesn't believe he could win here. Look, if I was him, I might have not believed it either. I wouldn't have. I would have had questions about what's going on. Like, the Nets are doing some goofy ass shit. We know this, right? Like, we're clear on that. Like, the Nets aren't operating like they typically operate. So it is what it is. But I don't. The nice thing is, Simmons don't have any of those chips on his shoulders. He's not a part of any cliques. He's here. He's got to recuperate his basketball reputation. So he's just gonna play hard, and I'm good
I
with
hope
that.
his fat ass loads up on cheesesteaks. I really do. And I'll say this: I'm not so like talent. You always pick talent first, right? Fit second, but
Always.
like Embiid is like a pick and pop player and a post player. He's not really like the lob threat that
No,
Harden
he's not.
typically. Like, if I'm Philly, I'm really staggering those guys.
Yeah,
and
he wants to be Harden.
He's a moron at doing that.
So that's where I think it is. I'll say one good thing about today is Washington will really be down to the studs tonight.
Yep.
So the Nets should be able to lift this win. Get a freaking win tonight. Let's get that. I feel like the team will probably be refreshed here. The guys know they're on the team. Let's get back in the win column tonight. They've got the Kings at home on Monday. I mean, they need Simmons back now. They need to get these guys back. They've got 2 home games with the Kings and the Wizards at home before the All-Star break and tonight. If they can win those 3 games, then hopefully Kevin comes back by the All-Star, after the All-Star break. Because actually, if you look at March's schedule, it's pretty favorable overall.
Yeah, they could do some damage, but the 19 road games is a big problem for me. When Kyrie doesn't play, there's no ball handlers. I mean, I guess they played.
I thought Ben Simmons was a ball handler.
No. I mean, someone who could get them into, like people say Steve Nash has bad X's and O's. I don't agree with that. I just think he doesn't have a point guard on the floor. He doesn't have anybody who could get people into sets. They run.
Seth Curry is actually, he's way more of that type of guy than like Patty Mills or Joe Harris is. Like Seth Curry was running offenses for the Sixers didn't really have. I mean, without Simmons, the Sixers were relying on Curry and Maxey to basically orchestrate the offense. Like he can do it better than what we've had over the last in our like benchish type units.
Yeah, well, all right. Let's just get to the last topic and close this thing out, man. We'll be here forever. Is Nash doing the job? I mean, excuse me, Nash. Is Sean Marks doing the job? I think that's the next thing that I hear talked about the most now. I think people are really starting to have their antenna up for Nash, whereas that's where I've been at with it for a long time. I mean, I always say that it's what he does. It's what a GM does after he gets superstars that tell you if he's a great GM. And honestly, I think none of this was Sean Marks' idea. I think all of this was him being lucky to get exactly what he needs. This is what I've been calling for. I've been wrong about everything if Ben Simmons doesn't help the Nets play better. I've been wrong about everything if that's the case, because I've been saying that this is the exact type of player that the Nets need. The Nets didn't need any more shooting. We have Joe Harris. We have a 3-point champion, and we have the brother of the greatest 3-point shooter of all time, and the son of one of the greatest 3-point shooters of all time. So we've got Patty Mills, who's he's a game-winning shot maker. We have Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, who shot 40%. Both of them shot 40% from 3 last year. So, guys, I think the type of player he is the type of player we needed, but there's a lot of work to be done. So I would say, yeah. Sam?
I would say my last comment is the Nets have some rebuilding of their quote-unquote culture to reestablish, because clearly something behind the scenes didn't work with Harden.
Yeah.
And I think like Sam said, there's gonna be leaks from Harden's camp, there'll be leaks from the Nets camp, pointing the fingers at each other.
Right.
And then who rebounds faster, their image, whether it's him or us first, we'll find out. I think we lost today, but I'm a Nets fan, and this is what I have to root for.
Hold
I'm
on,
root for
Bam.
Kevin Durant comes out of this looking great, though. I'll tell you this: his image is being repaired from the actions of Kyrie and now Harden.
Yo,
if more likable.
If he wins the championship, he's a god.
Absolutely.
What stands in the way of him in immortality is Kyrie Irving. If he just decides, if this just happens to be the moment in those moments where Kyrie shows up and just plays, then we're gonna be a problem. So this could be Sean Marks' greatest thing, and it could be bad, Joe. You don't agree with that, Matt?
This whole thing could fall apart in a year's time.
Yeah,
Kyrie,
it's not gonna last if it fails. If it fails, it's gonna fail right away. It's gonna fail quickly, and we're gonna know going into the off season knowing it's a failure. If it's a failure.
Whatever happens with Kyrie and Simmons play, that shit doesn't work out. Durant's gonna be like, look, I tried here. Here's the 3 teams I'd go to. Get what you can.
Right.
And who can blame him if that's how this goes?
I want to ask you guys one thing before we close out. Do you guys feel in your gut, not even trying to be too optimistic or too pessimistic or whatever, how scared are you right now of Philly generally, and how scared are you of Philly compared to Milwaukee or Miami?
I'm very scared of Philly because they kept so many of their parts. I'm not scared of Philly because they lost their floor spacer. If they replace him, then we have a problem. And again, it's like the question that I was gonna ask Bam is that I can't believe I keep forgetting what the hell the question is. No,
well,
go ahead.
While you think of it, I'll say this: I woke up today thinking there's only 2 teams in the East that could beat the Nets in a series, and that was Milwaukee and Miami. I'm gonna go to bed tonight thinking that there's at least 3, with one of them being Philadelphia.
You know what?
Yeah, that answers the question.
Yeah, you know what? I don't even have a snappy comeback for that one.
I still don't think Chicago can beat us.
No. I think the argument against Milwaukee from this trade is like, sure, on paper you basically just did, like in terms of actual move, you basically just did Curry and Drummond for Harden in terms of what you're getting. So it's hard to be like, holy shit, like they're going to be unbelievable. I do wonder, like, so they're going to have these lineups with like Harden, Tobias, Embiid, Maxey, and then like Danny Green or Thibault or whatever. And I guess a lot of it just depends on like how good of shooters are these guys going to be. Like Green is a 39% 3-point shooter. Tobias seems like he's just so streaky and goes in and out. I mean, Harden has been a bad shooter this year, so it'll be interesting to see what they have, because they obviously did lose depth. And Curry is the Nets now have 2 of the 5 best 3-point shooters in NBA history in Harris and Curry. So it'll just be interesting to see like kind of how that all works out. I also think, by the way, I'm just going to say this, and I know this is like total NBA gossip, but like given the way that the Nets thing just worked out, it's not crazy to say this. So let me get this straight. So Harden demanded a trade to go to Philly to be with his guys in terms of Daryl Morey and Tad Brown and Michael Rubin. But Embiid is the face of the franchise. There just seems like there's that doesn't seem on like the smoothest fit off the court. On top of the fact that on the court, there's a really good article in The Athletic by what's his name, Mo Dackel, that was basically, I don't know if I'm saying his name right, that was basically like, I don't see them fitting offensively that well. Like Harden's, like the way that Embiid likes to set up pick and rolls is very different than what Harden likes. So I don't know. That's just the whole off the court thing and whose franchise is it, I do think is a weird thing.
Not even worth discussing.
This team needs to start winning some games. They're a game and a half out of the 6th seed. They got to start winning some. There's not that many games left. They starting tonight. They got to start getting back on track, getting themselves back in that top 6, get out of this playing shit, and start getting the good vibes back. What's the vibes, Patty? Well, take your fat ass to Philly, and let's go. The Nets need to start pumping some wins out here, getting back on track. Let's get KD back. Let's get this mandate lifted. Let's get Kyrie back on the floor, and we could beat anybody in this conference.
Who's the lineup, though, Matt? Who's playing?
Who's our tonight?